Hi there, my name is Pablo Requena. I am a guitar maker of classical and flamenco guitars, and recently I did a video about how to work out the pitch on your Spanish guitar, and there were questions that I was able to reply very easily, but there's one question that kept coming up, and perhaps it's a little bit easy if I explain in this video what the answer to that question is. Basically, people were asking, is it possible to change the pitch on my guitar once the guitar is being built? So the short answer is yes, you can, of course. However, there's a few things to this. One of them is that I'm not really sure that it's worth the effort for the benefit that you might get. However, if you think that the guitar that you have has a pitch that is too high and it's got lots of issues, maybe it's worth to try. And I say this because once you do this work, you realize that you're not going to be able to change the pitch dramatically. So you have a guitar on A, let's say, it's not going to go all the way down to F sharp. It will go down a little, and perhaps that would be enough to change the dynamics in the instrument so that you make an improvement, but this is not always the result. So if, having heard this, you still want to go ahead and try to change the pitch on your instrument, this is what I would do. So I'm going to show you a soundboard that I got here ready. It's ready to go on the mold, and this is a very typical arrangement that you're going to find in many guitars. This is based on Hauser, with so basically 7 fans and 2 lower bars here, and the bridge plate. So the dimensions that you have here, which is what I typically do, is 3.5 in width for all the strats, and then the height, it's a bit different. So the center strat, it's 4 millimeters at the highest point, and it goes down to nothing towards here. All of them flares down to nearly nothing at the lower section, and the highest point is up here. So this one is 4, this one is 3.5, this one is 2.5, and this one is 1.5. The same in this side. And then these 2 lower bars are also about 1.5, maybe a little bit less, but not less than 1 millimeter. Also the same width. So what you will find if you use a mirror, so you can get an inspection mirror and put it through the sound hole to see what do you have here, what you will find is that when guitars are quite high up in a pitch, what it means is that usually, because there's many elements to this, but the most obvious one is that the struts are quite tall and sometimes even quite wide. So you're not going to be able to change the width of the struts, but you can change the height of the struts. And so what I would do is to get a sanding block with 120 sandpaper. You can use 100 as well. And basically, this is a bit tricky, but you can put the block inside, and the hand kind of fits in with a little bit difficulty, but basically you should be able to, using a sanding block, basically make the block long enough so that you can reach especially the lower bars here. So you're going to be working on all the strats to get them to be a bit lower. Now let me get this out of here. Now, how low? So normally what I've seen in the past when I've done this work on some guitars, what I found is that these strats, they tend to be all the same height. This is often something that you find of high-end factory-made guitars. So the guitars, they're good, they sound very nice, but obviously the amount of human input into the construction is limited, because they still need to, they're still reasonably or a lot lower in price than a completely handmade instrument made by an individual luthier like myself. So even though they're good instruments, they're going to have certain limitations. And one of those is that there's only so many man hours that those guitars can have. So what it means is that usually the struts are all the same size. They're not really a lot. There's not really a lot of work on them to refine them and to get different heights and so on. So what I would recommend is that you work in all of them, but especially on the ones towards the edges, because these 4 struts here are the ones that are tightening the soundboard the most, and it's making the pitch to be higher. So if you are able to lower the struts gradually, even don't be too concerned. You might think, oh, this is really low, it's going to weaken the instrument. It won't do it. So lower this down to about 1.5 if you can, and to lower this down you're going to have to lower down the other ones as well. And then these 2 down here, especially these 2, are the ones that will drop the pitch the most. However, to be able to get to this, you're going to have to lower down all these bars as well, because you can't lower this down while this is still high. So my recommendation would be lower these 2 bars down to about 1.5 millimeters. It's going to take a bit of time, but these 2 are the most effective in terms of changing the pitch. Now you could say, well, I have a look inside my guitar and I don't have these 2 lower bars. So the chances are, if you don't have these 2 bars, is that these struts are going to run a little bit longer and a little bit lower. So all you need to do is to lower down the struts quite a bit, or as much as you can, but bearing in mind that the center, you're going to leave it a little bit higher and lower the struts gradually more as you get towards the edges of the guitar, and you'll find that is what will do the job. The other bar that it's good to look at, it's the lower harmonic bar, this one here. In this soundboard, this is around about 12 millimeters in height at the highest point, which is in the middle, and you will find that if your guitar has a very high bar here, also you could benefit from bringing it down as well. So basically, it's an easy job to do. It's just time consuming and fiddly, because there's not a lot of room to work with, because you're gonna have to do all the work through the sound hole, and it's gonna be uncomfortable, but it's doable. And also be warned, you might spend a few hours doing that and find that the pitch hasn't changed that much at all, and that would be because there's other elements that are bringing the pitch high, and it's usually the thicknesses on the soundboard, the thicknesses of the sides as well. The thickness of the sides is very crucial for the kind of pitch that you have on the instrument. Often guitars have sides that are around about 2.2 millimeters in thickness. I personally do them a little bit thinner, and that helps to have a lower pitch in the end, but it's not a lot that you can do once the guitar is built, especially because you have the polish, and you have to be very intrusive with the guitar to be able to change those things, which I'm not really sure that the benefit is gonna be worth for the amount of work that you're gonna have to put into it. So I hope you find this helpful and that it replies and answers these questions, and until the next one.